And welcome to the Hot Seat of College Football Show. I am Trent, your host, as we are going to break down Conference Championship Week. I can't believe we're already here. Let's talk about it. So, the Buckeyes are finally back in Indianapolis to face the undefeated Indiana Hoosiers in what is maybe a look ahead for the national championship and what practically is your BCS national championship. Buckeyes favored by 4.5, 47.5 is the over-under, so they're kind of predicting like a 27-24 or a 24-21, kind of like mid-20s games. They don't think Ohio State's any team's going to get into the 30s. They also think that Indiana's going to get into the 20s, and I'll have a word to say about that. But I am super excited about this game. I will be at this game, and potentially I think we're going to have middle of the field lower deck seats, which are like the best seats in the stadium. So I'll have, if we lose, I'll still have videos, but this is going to be awesome. I mean, either what seats I get, either way, I'm super excited for this game. ESPN's matchup predictor, analytically, Indiana is actually favored in this game. It's like 50.6 to 49.4. It's practically half and half. I don't understand why. And I'm surprised the spread is at 4.5. Ohio State, I would feel, should be heavily favored in this game. I thought it was going to get up to like 7.5. It opened at 5. It's went down to 4 and back up to 4.5. So let's talk about some of the players going in this game. So this is your Heisman race. This game is your Heisman race. These are the top two guys in the Heisman. There's been talks about Diego Pavia, but I really don't. I mean, whoever loses this game might be behind Diego, but I don't think whoever wins this game will be behind Diego. So Fernando Mendoza, 32 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. I think he only also has a couple touchdowns on the ground, maybe like 7, I think. But we don't really count that. If it was Haynes King who has like a billion rushing touchdowns, I think they count it. I don't think they count it for Heisman stats because Ohio State just took those 7 rushing touchdowns that Fernando had and gave it to the actual running backs. But 32 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. He has around 2,700 passing yards. Julian, he's over 3,000 yards passing, 30 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. I think one of the interesting battles coming into this game are the running backs. Both teams have like 3 running backs that they cycle through. Indiana has Black, Hemby, and I think they have another guy. All of them super solid. Roman Hemby, he came from Maryland. He is a phenomenal running back. Him and Black especially are great. Bo Jackson, around almost 1,000-yard rusher, 5 touchdowns. We also see C.J. Donaldson. I don't think he's very good. But then you also have Isaiah West and James Peoples, who have really kind of elevated as those second and third running backs, especially James Peoples in the past couple weeks. Receiving room, this is, I think, going to be super I'm so excited to see this receiver versus defensive back secondary battle. With Indiana, you have Amar Cooper and Elijah Surratt. And then with Ohio State, Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, Brandon Inniss, even the backups, Mylan Graham, Quincy Porter. We've seen a lot of times from David Adolph. I doubt we'll see David Adolph in this game. But yeah, Jeremiah still has not eclipsed 1,000 yards. He needs, 58 more. So I think he'll get there, but he has 11 touchdowns. He'll break the touchdown record he had last year. I don't know about the yards. He needs 400 yards in 4 or 5 games. And you have to have probably 100 yards in each one. So I don't know if he'll get there because he's really split snaps with Carnell Tate, or split like receptions and touchdowns with Carnell Tate. Defensively, Indiana as the second best defense analytically. I wouldn't say they're the second best defense. I would maybe look at a team like Texas Tech with maybe more talent than Indiana, but analytically, Indiana has the second best defense. Ohio State has the number 1 defense. Ohio State has more talent on defense. I mean, you have 4 first-round draft picks on this defense. Up front, Caden McDonald. He's going to go in the first round. He's probably going to be the number 1 nose tackle in the draft. You have 2 first-round linebackers. Arvell Reese might go number 1 in the entire country. I'm going to post a video right here. I did a mock draft yesterday. So I would heavily go watch the video. I had a lot of fun making it. But I think I had Arvell being the first non-quarterback taken. And then especially also on the defensive line, Caden Curry, Kenyatta Jackson have been super, super productive. And then obviously in that secondary, Caleb Downs, then Jermaine Matthews, Davidson Igbinosun, and even Jalen McClain. I mean, you talk about the Michigan game. Jalen McClain, especially early, was the last kind of saving grace that Ohio State had to stop Jordan Marshall's 30-yard, 20-yard runs. It was kind of all Jalen McClain. He was kind of the last guy that stopped instead of making it a touchdown. So these teams are so talented. I do think it leans Ohio State. I'll give my prediction later in the video. But let's talk about what 3 things that I need to see from Indiana and Ohio State to win this game. So let's start off with Indiana. Indiana, you need to contain Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate. Does that mean double both and then everyone else is kind of on an island? Or do you have enough players for that? I don't know. Ohio State has really started to run the ball a lot better with Bo Jackson, especially in that Michigan game last week. I also Fernando needs to play clean. He can't be 12 for 26, 123, a touchdown and a pick. That's not going to win you this game. You are not winning this game on that. So you probably need to be over 250 passing yards. I would like to maybe even see him get up to 300, which I really doubt, but I think you're really going to need a Heisman performance to win this game. So I need him to play clean. An interception, I don't know if they can win with an interception. They need to win the turnover battle too. And then 3, they need to be able to play complementary football. They need to be able to run the ball when they can pass well. They need to be able to pass well when they can run well. They need to get stops and convert third downs. They need to have a plus rate on fourth down. If that means getting it more than Ohio State or just not going for all, playing field position. They need to play smart and play complementary football. For Ohio State, the 3 things that I need to see from them is first, let Julian sling the rock. D'Angelo Pons is one of the best cornerbacks in the entire country. He cannot guard Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate at the same time. You look at the game last year when Ohio State dominated Indiana, especially in the second half. Yes, the defensive line was killing Curtis Rourke in that offensive line, but D'Angelo Pons played really well against guys like Emeka Egbuka, first-round pick, NFL Rookie of the Year. Jeremiah Smith, one of maybe the best collegiate player we have ever seen ever, especially as a freshman. So being able to recognize where Amari Cooper is, or not Amari Cooper, realize where D'Angelo Pons is, and then shoot to the other side of the field. And if that doesn't work, dump it down. Dump down, play smart. Julian needs to be able to sling the rock, but also know when to dump it down. We saw that a lot last week with Max Clare. We saw Carnell Tate on hitch routes, and especially Bo Jackson out of the flat. Bo Jackson has been the best receiving back on this entire team. I think that is the thing that makes him the best. I don't think he's not as fast and doesn't have the motor as Isaiah West, but he has the balance and the dual threat ability of being able to receive the ball and rush the ball. I said Julian being able to throw the ball and play nice. I would like to have him have 300-yard passing and have 3 touchdowns. I think he really needs to put a stomp in the Heisman race. They have not been allowing these guys to win the Heisman. They need to let Julian win the Heisman here. We have not had a Heisman winner since Troy Smith in 2006. He also wore number 10. We have not had a quarterback, I think, wear number 10 that was started since Troy Smith. So this would be the first guy. Second, again, Ohio State being able to ride on that momentum of the Michigan game, not come out slow, be able to run the ball with Bo Jackson, and have that offensive line play as well as it did against Michigan. They mauled Michigan. They had, 43 knockdowns. Julian was untouched. He never got sacked. There was zero pressures on Julian Sand. So I think that is the biggest thing, is being, again, like Indiana, play complementary football, but also push it down their throat. And number 3, do not screw up on special teams. This is a game where if Ohio State plays well, they can blow out Indiana. They can blow out Indiana easily. If they lose the turnover battle, if they have a fumble or an interception or a pick six or a kick return or a missed field goal or a blocked field goal, like what Jim Trust would always say is whenever you had a special teams mishap, the chance of you losing spikes by 20-30%. So you have to win special teams in the turnover battle, play clean. So for Julian, sling the ball, play clean for Bo Jackson, number 2, being able to run the play complementary football, and for number 3, win the turnover battle and don't have special teams blunders. I'm not necessarily saying that Jaden Fielding has to hit a 50-yard field goal. He's never hit a 50-yard field goal. I think his longest was from 49 at Purdue this year. This game's indoors. This game is in warm weather. Ohio State doesn't have to worry about literally anything. It's indoors, warm weather, in a dome. Ohio State and Ryan Day is going to be able to sling the rock. The only concern I would have is maybe a little bit distraction and coming out maybe a little slow, coming off with a huge win over Michigan, and then also the loss of Brian Hartline. He is still with the team. But he's not going to stay with the team after the season, and that might mean something more. Hopefully not. This team has played as professional as an NFL team. They play only to take care of business. They're not here for gimmicks. They're not here for antics or anything or whatever or emotion. They play like Ryan Day last week. Don't play for the hate of the opponent. Play for the love of your brother. And I think that is the mentality and the mindset that this team has had all year, which has allowed them to play as good as they have been. The second thing, this is the best team Ohio State has played all year. I'm not saying this game is going to be as close as the Texas game, but I mean, that was week 1. You played conservative. Both teams played conservative, and they kind of knew that was going to happen. I just think that matchup wise, this is a better. I would say Texas was a better matchup for Ohio State's defense than Indiana is. This team is a lot better than that Texas team. Are they as talented? Probably not, but they play much better than Texas. Obviously, talent can't win you a national title. Like with that Auburn team in 2010, that team had Cam Newton. That was kind of it. So, I think Indiana is going to be a really not a bad. I think they match up well against Ohio State. And I think Fernando Mendoza, he might be the number 1 overall draft pick. He's a veteran quarterback. If you can't get to him, then I don't really know what to tell you. Nobody has scored more than 16 points on this defense. I would not be surprised if Indiana got there. I think they could get to 17, and that might be my point total for them that I predict. But yeah, I'm so excited for this game. I am curious if Ryan Day will trot out Caleb Downs at punt return, because he had the punt return last year against Indiana. We've already seen Lorenzo house one against UCLA this year. I think he's actually he's one of the faster guys on the team. Lorenzo Styles Jr. is, but I think it'd be funny if Caleb Downs, just to kind of give them a little bit of trauma. But yeah, matchup. I think quarterback. I think quarterback leans Indiana, but Ohio. If I were to take an offense, I'm taking Ohio State's offense. I think if you had let's say you had an average team, and it would say you took the offense of Nebraska. I think for an average team, Fernando would do better in there. I think he is more of a star maybe than Julian, just because he's more veteran. But man, when you give Julian weapons, he is better than anybody. And yeah, that might be a kind of argument to give it to Fernando, but whoever wins this game should win it. I don't care. I mean, if both guys throw 3 interceptions, I guess give it to Diego Pavia from Vanderbilt. But yeah, I would say quarterback is pretty even. Running backs, I would say also pretty even. I would maybe slightly lean Indiana. Receivers, heavy favorite Ohio State. Tight ends, heavy favorite Ohio State. Offensive line, I think is pretty even. Zed Mahalski, I think, is starting for Indiana. If you're an Ohio State fan, you recognize that name and how terrible he was last year. Defensive line, I think, probably leans Ohio State. Linebackers leans Ohio State. Secondary, I would say, is Indiana has more star power, but Ohio State's deeper. And then your safeties, easy, Ohio State. Kicker, probably Indiana. I would probably pick anybody's kicker over Ohio State's kicker, Jaden Fielding, and just Corville or Noah Ruggles or whatever. They all aren't very good. But yeah, this game, 8 p.m. December 6th, Joel Klatt will be on this game. And I thought it was going to be a CBS game. Apparently, they alternate every year with CBS and Fox. So this will be Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt, which is nice. Man, game of the century. This is the biggest Big Ten championship game ever. This is only the third time in Big Ten history that it's been number 1 versus number 2. The last time it happened was 2006. I don't know what the first time was. The last time a conference championship had number 1 versus number 2, it's only happened 2 other times, and those were both Bama and Florida, which was, I think it was Saban and Urban. Maybe one of those teams was Steve Spurrier. I don't know. But I know one of them was Saban versus Urban. So yeah, Day versus Signetti. I'm so excited for this game. I'm trying to think of any other thoughts for this game before I get to my prediction. This game, I think, will be close for most, at least the first half. Whoever loses this game, they're still going to get a bye week. So I guess you could say this game doesn't really matter, but both Indiana's never been to a Big Ten title. We haven't been there since 2020, and we both really want to win one. So I really think it's not going to be like we're benching starters. And if anyone would be benching starters, I think it would be Signetti. I don't think Day is the type of guy. I think Day is so NFL-like. We're going to treat every game like an NFL game. But yeah, so I got to go to my prediction now. I think this game is, what do I want to do? I'll say it'll be 17-7 at halftime. Indiana will score. It'll be 17-14. Then Ohio State will score. They'll do a field goal. It'll be 20-14. Then I think Indiana will kick a field goal. It'll be 20-17 going into the fourth quarter, and I think Ohio State pours it on. They score 14 unanswered points, and I have Ohio State winning 34-17 over the Indiana Hoosiers, go 13-0, the number 1 team in the college football playoff, and probably play the winner of, we think, is Oklahoma, Alabama. It's going to be Oklahoma hosting somebody. That could be Notre Dame, it could be Miami, it could be Alabama. I don't really know. But I'm so excited to see this game. So, the Bulldogs rematch with the Tide again. Georgia, this time again favored by 2.5. Last time they met, it was in week 4 of the season when this one was at Georgia in Athens between the hedges. The Tide pull out in a 24-21 win over the Bulldogs. Kirby Smart falls to 1-7 versus the Tide. His 1 win coming against the only rematch in the same season for the national championship. Georgia 11-1, the 3rd-ranked team in the country. The Crimson Tide 10-2, not fully in the playoff, but kind of. They're at number 9. With a close loss, they're definitely in. A blowout loss, they're probably in. Georgia 100% in. If they win, they get a bye. If they lose, they will not get a bye, but they will host a playoff game. So, matchup-wise, on ESPN's analytical matchup predictor, the Tide is favored 51.1% to 48.9%. Georgia was a bigger favorite when this game was in Athens. Now that it's a neutral site, it's still in Georgia, but it's a neutral site. I think this game could go very similar to how last time went. I am so excited for this game. This game is going to be at 4 p.m., so it's going to be after the Big 12 championship and before the Big 10 championship. But even though these teams are the same as they met a couple months ago, they're kind of different teams. I mean, the same rosters, but with injuries and playing styles, and what these teams have really become, these aren't the same teams that played earlier this year, even though they might be the same rosters. So let's talk about these offenses and these defenses and some of these matchups. So let's start off with Georgia's offense. This offense has really came into its own. Before the Georgia Tech game, they were humming. They're scoring 45. If you look at their past 5 games, they put up only 35 on Chubb, and they put up 35 on Texas, 41 on Mississippi State. They only put up 24 on Florida, but before that, 43 on Ole Miss, 35 on Kentucky, 44 on Tennessee. So, this offense was humming, especially in SEC conference play, and then they played Georgia Tech. They end up winning this game 16-9. Georgia Tech failed to complete a Hail Mary and only scored 3 points in the second half. This was a real slow game, very sluggish game. And when you think it's a rivalry, when we talked about this game last year in Athens, I mean, this game went to 8 overtime. It was 44-42. So, it's kind of a shocker that against Georgia Tech's defense, who has been absolutely abysmal, and before coming in to the Georgia Tech game, or the Georgia Tech game, I mean, they were allowing 48 to Boston College, 41 to Syracuse, 36 to Boston College, 48 to NC State, 42 to Pitt. I mean, that defense was terrible, and Georgia only put up 16 points, only 3 points in the second half. And really, you can atone that to the loss of Drew Bobo, Mike Bobo's kid. He is the starting center. I think it's his kid. The starting center for the Bulldogs. And ever since the loss of him, this offensive line has not gelled like they've used to throughout the year. The running game has slowed down a little bit. Nate Frazier has been a really, really solid back for them. 5 touchdowns for 809 rushing yards. And obviously, Gunnar Stockton, he's been very productive on the ground. He has 403 rushing yards and 8 touchdowns. I would assume a lot of those are on the goal line. He's only averaging 3.9 yards per rush. His longest of the year was 22. So a lot of them is in the red zone. But that creates a dual threat ability. But now with the offensive line, especially the leader of that offensive line, Drew Bobo, not really being there, and who knows how long he'll be out. He might be out for the year. I don't really know. I'm really curious to see if they will be able to get this running game going, especially against a defensive line of Alabama who's not really as dominant as we thought they would be. Yes, LT Overton's great, but really for Alabama, this defensive line has just been they've been not been bad. They've been good. James Smith has been okay. Edric Hill, I'm trying to see what other guys they got. I mean, that's kind of it for some of the starters. But, I mean, to be honest, this Alabama defense has been susceptible to allowing points. They allowed a bad Auburn team to put up 20 on them. Oklahoma put 23. South Carolina put up 22. And these are teams that were scoring 7 points over Vanderbilt. Florida State, 31. Even Wisconsin, who wasn't great, put up 14 on them. Tennessee put up 20. Missouri put up 24. And in a game with a defense, even though it has been as dominant as before for Georgia, if you allow Georgia to get into the mid to upper 20s, I don't know how confident I am in for Alabama to get enough points, get to the high 20s, get to the 30s. They might have to go to 30. Last time these guys matched up in Atlanta, Bama had to score 27 points to win. So I'm really curious to see how this run battle, who's going to dominate the trenches in this game. For Alabama now, we've talked about Georgia. Let's give some of our praise to Alabama. Ty Simpson, for most of the year, has been phenomenal. At one point, he was 21 touchdowns to 1 interception. He threw a pick 6 against Oklahoma. He had 2 bad interceptions versus Northern Illinois. Or Eastern Illinois, not Northern Illinois. That's an FBS team. The FCS team, Eastern Illinois. Jam Miller now, he's not going to play in this game. And Ryan Williams, is he going to be a factor? Because he really hasn't been. I mean, sometimes he shows up and he looks like how he looked like last year for 1 or 2 games. But then he'll be gone for a month. And that's really allowed Jeremy Bernard and Horton, I think it's Isaiah Horton, to step up to take over those first 2 receiving threats for defenses. And with Ryan Williams, it kind of just feels like there's just that magic kind of disappeared. At least for now, I could see Ryan Williams if he get back to an older self, especially against a good opponent like Georgia. If you let me bring this up. Against Georgia, the first time they played, I'm going to see what was Ryan Williams' stats. Ty Simpson passed for 276. Ryan Williams was 5 for 43, and I do remember he dropped a walk-in touchdown. It was like a 60, 70-yard bomb, and he dropped it walking into the end zone. So you really got to rely on your upperclassmen. Jeremy Bernard, he is a senior. Isaiah Horton, let me find where he is. What is he? He's a junior. Rely on your upperclassmen because Ryan Williams, he is good, still a true sophomore. So that's kind of some of the matchups of the teams. Let's talk about I want to talk about 3 things I think for each team that they need to win. Let's start off with Georgia. We'll go back to Georgia. Number 1, they need to keep up in the second half. You can't tighten up. You look at the game that happened in Athens a couple months ago. It was 24 to 14. You shut Bama out in the second half, but you only score a touchdown. And that's how you lose. You lose 24-21. So you have to be able to sustain drives when you're tired. Maybe rotate some of it, just rotate. Maybe get more guys in. But this thing where we're going to go all stale in the late third and the fourth quarter and nobody's going to do anything, I mean, that's how Georgia's going to lose. That's why they've been losing. And I've been stupid because I've picked Georgia the past 2 years. I picked them earlier this year and I picked them last year to beat Alabama. And I don't know. There's been a lot of streaks this year being broken. You look at Georgia's home winning streak, that was broken. Oregon's home winning streak was broken. Washington's home streak was broken. The top 3 were all broken. Ryan Day's record versus Michigan, that was broken. So this is kind of the last one where can Kirby Smart really beat this streak? Can he not tighten up kind of like Ryan Day against Michigan when he plays Alabama? Kalen DeBoer is now 2-0. 2-0 versus Kirby Smart. And we give Kalen DeBoer so much flack for the losses and the bad loss. I mean, Brent Venables is 2-0 versus Kalen DeBoer. Brent Venables is much better versus Alabama than Georgia is. And Georgia was designed to beat Alabama. Number 2, you got to stop Bama on third down. They were 13 of 19 when you were 2 of 8 or 2 of 9. 13 of 19, that is insane. That is straight video game on freshman difficulty numbers. To be that absolutely incredible on third down, I don't think we're going to see that again. I don't think we'll see Georgia be as bad as they were on third down. I think they've been better at running the ball. Again, Drew Bobo is not playing in this game, at least to my knowledge. So we will see how they can run. Maybe try to run outside of the tackles and between the tackles, not in the A gap. Try the B and C gap. And then for 3, again, your offensive line has to hold up without center Drew Bobo. He is, like, for Michigan, you had Max Brenneson, who wasn't like a superstar player, but he was super important. This not just offensive line, this offense for Georgia has not looked the same ever since they lost Drew Bobo. So let's switch over to Alabama. Number 1 thing that Alabama needs to do to win this game, they need to extend the run game. Running the ball has not been working for the Tide all year, and Jam Miller's not going to be playing this game. He's injured, at least to my knowledge. So what do I mean by extend the run game? That means RPOs. That means lateral pitches. That's screens. Dump down to your running back in the flat if nothing's open. If you want to throw Caden Proctor out to the damn boundary into the sideline, fine. That worked. Do it. It worked before. I guess do it again. But you have to extend some part of the run game because if you were one-dimensional against Georgia, 9 times out of 10 you're going to lose. You were just really lucky, and you played a perfect game on third down when you're one-dimensional on the road to win that game, going 13 of 19 on third down. I don't think you're going to do that, so I don't think that game plan is going to work. Number 2, get Georgia to fall into your game plan. This is what Michigan did to Ohio State for 3 to 4 consecutive years. Was they took over the game psychologically. They made Georgia fall into the trap of how Bama wants them to play, fall into Bama's game plan. And if you're Georgia, you're probably not going to have to stack the box, but try to establish the run. Get Georgia to feel uneasy. Get it in the second and the fourth quarter where it's a one-possession game. Try to get Kirby to tighten up. Do you remember last year in the playoffs when Notre Dame, and actually Georgia, I think, did it to Mississippi State this year, where it's like 4th down, they send out the punt unit, they late sub, and they hard count, and they get them offsides and the penalty. Stuff like that. Do something on 4th down, on special teams. Saban would do it all the time, or at least a couple times, and remember the national title versus Clemson? He would do the onside, stuff like that to make them feel uneasy. We've seen Georgia do that where they want to steal a possession they did against Texas. You got to do something to be like, oh my God, it's going to happen again. Piss them off, get them off their edge, and then you can take over. Number 3, Ty Simpson needs to show up. If you were not able to get your running game established, at least in that first game, we were still off the perception of what Ryan Williams was the year before. He is the number one threat, double him. Now, you don't really have to do that because he's not really a threat. And there's been some games where he doesn't even really play. His snap count can be in the single digits or in the teens. So, you gotta get Ryan Williams to play well, to show up. He has to show up, because if it is just, we're going to double Jeremy Bernard and we're going to roll a safety over to Isaiah Horton and Ryan Williams doesn't do anything, you can't run the ball because Jam Miller's out, then I don't know. This Georgia offense is going to pin their ears back and they're going to eat. Honorable mention, Ty Simpson needs to play like how he did in the first half of the season. He has thrown a pick six, multiple interceptions this past 2 or 3 games. He needs to play better. So, let's get to my prediction for this game. Georgia, favored by 2.5. I've picked Georgia before. I don't want to look like an idiot, but both these teams are injured. I just think Georgia is more multi-dimensional. If Bama wins and Kirby falls to 1-8, then I'll never pick Georgia again. And I probably vowed that I wasn't going to do it before anyways, but Ryan Day beat Michigan. I think Kirby can finally do it. Kirby is 3-0 in rematches in his career. Lost to Auburn in 2017. Got blown out. Beat him in a rematch in the SEC Championship. Lost to Bama in the SEC Championship in 21. Beat him in the national title. And then last year, beat Texas. Beat them again. Can he go 4-0 for rematches in his career? I think he can. I'm going to pick Georgia. I will say my prediction... Georgia wins 27-20. I think Georgia is 12-1, and I think with Ohio State winning the Big Ten championship, which I'm going to pin right here, go watch that video. I think they will have the 2 seed in the playoff for the second year in a row, and I will take the Dogs to conquer the Tide finally for the first time in 4 years. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is the Big 12 championship. This one's going to be at noon tomorrow. This is number 4 Texas Tech at 11-1 versus number 11 BYU also at 11-1. BYU's only loss came to Texas Tech, and Texas Tech's only loss came at Arizona State when they didn't have their quarterback. They're on their backup, who I think he's also out for the season. So let's talk about this game. So Bear Bachmeier stepping in for Jake Retzloff at BYU. He has had a pretty good freshman season. He has 2,600 passing yards, 14 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He is a converted wide receiver wearing number 47 at quarterback compared to Barrett Morton. He has actually less passing yards. He's also been out a couple games. Has around 20 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. Texas Tech destroyed BYU the last time they played. They are currently 12.5-point favorites. Over-under at 49.5. This is going to be a real test for BYU. Last time they played, lost 29-7 at Texas Tech. This was where game day was. This game was never close. Texas Tech settled for 4 or 5 field goals. Could have easily put up 50 points on BYU. And if you're asking me, I don't know how I feel about BYU's chances. Analytically, they got a chance at 33%, so about 1/3 chance to win, which is actually a lot better than I thought. The 12.5 is a big amount for the spread. Would not be surprised if Texas Tech wins by 14. I think they probably will. But yeah, this game in Arlington, the winner definitely in. The loser, if Texas Tech loses, they're still in, I'm pretty sure. If BYU loses, I think they're out, which will give us our Miami right next to Notre Dame debate. And if that happens, we'll get into that. We're going to drop a video for when the final playoff rankings come out. So can't wait for that. My prediction for this game, I think Texas Tech wins. I think Texas Tech covers. I think this game looks very similar to last year's Big 12 title when Arizona State played Iowa State. I don't know if it's going to be much of a blowout, but I think Texas Tech dominates. I think Texas Tech wins, we'll say 35-20. We'll say 35-20. The next game, this is the ACC Championship. Virginia at 10-2 versus 7-5 Duke. Honestly, if you ask me, I don't even care. They should have just put Miami into this. They should have changed their tiebreaker rules. This is stupid and this is doomsday. This is the doomsday we talked about. Virginia, 4.5-point favorite, or 4-point favorites. These two teams played like a month ago. And Virginia doubled up on Duke 34-17. I remember that was a game. Duke was favored to win that game, and I said, no. I'm picking Virginia to win. And they absolutely destroyed them. Derek Mensah, is it Derek Mensah? Darian Mensah. He has been really good. 3,500 yards passing, 28 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Caleb Morris, or not Caleb Morris. Is it Caleb Morris? Chandler Morris, the quarterback for Virginia. 14 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. Not great. Around 2,600 passing yards. Both have almost 1,000-yard backs, almost 1,000-yard receivers. Both these teams are similar. Very low levels of defense, but very good offenses. And the reason why I picked Virginia to win this game is because Virginia, in shootouts, they win. In low-scoring games, they lose. Let's look at their schedule. The only exception was the NC State game where it was a shootout and they lost. But Florida State, number 8 Florida State at the time, 46-38. High-scoring game they won. Louisville, 30-27. High-scoring game they won. North Carolina, 17-16. North Carolina from 2-point conversion, almost got it, they didn't. Lower scoring games, they almost lose. Cal, 31-21. High-scoring game. Wake Forest, who's not a good team. They're okay. They're not great, though. 16-9. They lose a low-scoring game. Duke, 34-17. High-scoring game. They win. And these teams, I mean, it's hard to beat a team twice. It's just hard to beat a good team. I think that's what Uncle Lou was saying. It's just hard to beat a good team. I mean, these teams played November 15th? These teams played less than a month ago. So I'm going to go with Virginia to avoid doomsday. Virginia will be 11-2 with the you would think 11 seed, and potentially 2 ACC teams in with Miami probably getting in over Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame's out. I don't think Notre Dame can get in. Next game, North Texas versus Tulane. That game is happening tonight at 8. Same with a lot of the other group of 5 teams. North Texas, 1.5-point favorite. It was up to 3. It was at 2 earlier today. Now it's down to 1. What's this guy's name? Drew Mestemaker. This guy and his OC have been phenomenal. He was the guy that found Cam Ward at Incarnate Ward. I think he found some other guys. Wherever he goes, his quarterbacks are stellar. Jake Rutzoff for Tulane really hasn't been that great. 14 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. He's been okay. But man, Drew Mestemaker, 29 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, almost 4,000 yards passing. North Texas' offense has been amazing. They're 11-1, Tulane's 10-2. If you look at their schedule, oh my God, my throat's closing up. Listen to these points. Against Western Michigan, 33 points. Washington State, 59 points. Army, 45. South Alabama, 36. South Florida, they lost 63-36, but they still put up 36 points. UTSA, 55. Charlotte, 54. Navy, 31. UAB, 53. Rice, 56. Temple, 52. Out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out of their past 6 games, they've put up above 50 in 5. I gotta go with North Texas. I don't know. They're putting up 50 points in their 5 of the last 6 games. I mean, Tulane, their only 2 losses, they got blown out by Ole Miss and then blown out by UTSA. Their offense has been decent, but their defense hasn't been okay, and sometimes their offense didn't show up. I don't know how you don't pick North Texas in this game, and they're gonna put up 50. So I'm gonna go with North Texas. I'll say they win 45-27. I think they pull away in the second half. I'll say 45-27 for that one. I think I gave my other score prediction for the other ones. James Madison, Troy, they're 24.5-point favorites. James Madison's gonna win. And then Boise, UNLV. Boise, 6.5-point favorites. They put up how many points on UNLV the last time they played this year? They won 56-31. Boise always beats UNLV. I'll pick Boise. The other ones, Western Michigan, Miami of Ohio. This one's pretty tough. Western Michigan's a 1.5 point favorite. I will go with Miami of Ohio because Miami of Ohio beat them earlier this year. And then with Jacksonville State, Kennesaw State, same thing. I'll go with Jacksonville State. They beat Kennesaw State earlier this year. A lot, like you look at like Georgia, Alabama, Virginia, Duke, Texas Tech, BYU, Boise State, UNLV, Jacksonville State, Kennesaw State, Miami, Ohio, Western Michigan, all rematches. Like they're all rematches. So even though they're not, I don't think it's going to be as chalk as the first matchup, but I feel very comfortable just picking the teams that won before. So that's what I'm going to do. Let's hop over to the board just so we can recap. All right. So I'm going to pick Ohio State over Indiana, Georgia over Bama, Virginia over Duke, Texas Tech over BYU, Boise State over UNLV, all chalk. North Texas over Tulane, all chalk. Our first upset, Jacksonville State over Kennesaw State, James Madison over Troy, and Miami, Ohio to upset Western Michigan. We only got 9 games, so we can't have a full 10 out of 10 perfect week. But that is all I have for you guys tonight. Make sure to subscribe, hit the like button. We're so close to 60 subs. And leave a comment down below. Is your team playing today, and who do you think is going to win? Let me know. Ohio State over Indiana. Give me a score prediction. Georgia out of the SEC, ACC, Big 12, anything. Just let me know. I love all the feedback. It's why I do this. I will see you guys all on Sunday. Actually, I'll see you guys all Sunday night for my Ohio State Indiana reaction. I will be in Indianapolis for the game. I'll vlog the whole thing. I think we got like a Dr. Pepper fan fest thing. But I'll see you guys all then. And as always, of course, thank you.